It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbin Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuchendu. Thanks a lot for joining us. Interesting week we've had in the country in the last week. Like I always say, there's a lot going on. I think one thing I'd like to highlight is the talk about the fact that the strain of COVID that was discovered or that came about in India has been said to be found in Nigeria. We don't know what that means. I know the vaccination rollout is still going on. It's pretty slow, even if it's fast by African standards, but by global standards, we still haven't scratched the surface. But it just means everybody needs to be very careful. India was doing extremely well until this new strain came about, and we have seen the numbers and the devastation it has caused in that country. The last thing we need in Nigeria is another added layer to all of the problems and issues that we're trying to tackle here. So hopefully we can stay safe as much as we can. I know state governments like Lagos say that they are on their toes, making sure that there's going to be tracking and tracing, and hopefully we don't get to a third wave. But we're going to be talking about that much later on in the show. Something else that came up in the week that was a meeting held by the governors of the southern part of Nigeria. And one of the resolutions was to talk about banning open grazing in southern Nigeria. And it's caused a lot of very deep conversations and tensions. Just people are trying to understand what that means with regards to farming and just, all of that. We're going to be discussing that. I have here with me Ariko Collins, who's a lawyer. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Ebuka.
Yeah, I think what I want to start with, first of all, is the legality of this. A lot of people are confused. Is this something that is legal to do? We saw the Southern Governors meet, I think it was in Delta State, talk about, this cannot continue. So yes. Open grazing is no longer allowed in the southern states of Nigeria. First of all, is that legal, you think? Okay,
thank you, Ebuka. First of all, let me say by saying, at best, that is just a political solution to the problem. It's not legal as such. It's not legal per se. It's not legal because it is not the duty of the governors to make laws. It is the duty of the states' houses of assembly to make laws. So the states' houses of assembly need to ratify that decision made by the state governors. So it is when the states' house of assembly have ratified it that it becomes law. So at best, it is just a political solution to the problem.
But yes. This open grazing conversation has been going on for so many years now, especially since we've had this talk about herdsmen and farmers clashing and what that has done to, just agriculture and even lives, which of course is paramount to a lot of people. Did you think this was a good move to do? Because we've had so many conversations with federal governments. There's been blame has been shifted, so this should go to the state governors to decide. We've even heard recently that security is now in the hands of the state governor, even though the constitution says otherwise. Was this sort of a push to the wall for governors, and they had to react this way, and was this the right reaction?
Well, yes, in my view, I would say yes, it's the right move because it's a push to the wall. So at least it shows that they have awakened to their responsibilities, because their primary responsibility is the welfare and security of the people. So it shows that at least they have awakened to their responsibilities. So maybe this will ginger the state's House of Assembly to now come in and ratify this decision and now make it a law, so that the problem at least will be tackled to a bit.
But northern governors are also sort of in opposition to this, and this has sort of now put the divide that was invisible sort of even clearer now, saying you can't do this. Obviously, of course, defending their interest and all of that. What does this do now for the polity? And of course, governors are supposed to, come in a united front. We know they have a Nigerian Governors Forum and all of that. Maybe that can be settled there. But you also said this is a political decision, which of course a lot of people agree with. The North and South now, governors, how do they come to a consensus where we can start having some clarity with this issue that's gone on for too long?
All right. Now, first off, I want to begin by saying it's quite unfortunate that we have this peculiar political arrangement or situation in Nigeria. Now, the Constitution says we practice federalism. Oh, well, that's what it says, which we haven't seen in practice actually, but then that's what it says, that we are practicing a federal system of government. But our system of governance is so hinged on ethnicity or tribal sentiments, such that any political decision taken by our rulers is first viewed with tribal or ethnic or religious sentiments. So when the southern governors now sat down to reach this decision, expectedly the northern governors kicked against it, they were saying, I think they were saying it amounts to secession for them, which I don't think so. But then it is because of the peculiar situation we have found ourselves. Now, to move forward, we need dialogue and cooperation, because that is the only way we can move forward.
Yeah.
We do not need to be viewing political decisions with tribal or religious sentiments.
Otherwise, things will keep festering.
Otherwise, it will just keep festering. Yes.
I think we're joined from Abuja by Leonard Ebute, who's a farmer. Leonard, how are you doing? You are in the thick of this. You are a farmer, so you feel this much more than anybody else. First of all, there's a talk about the fact that this is culturally how the Fulani graze and raise their livestock and all of that. And there's talk about the fact that they were not consulted in this decision. Was this the right move, you think, considering that you are a farmer as well? What do you think about this decision?
Thanks, Ebuka. I'm doing well. I'm enjoying the weather in Abuja. You see, we've been on air to talk about this a number of times, and we've said, right, it's first of all, the economic logic for open grazing disappeared a long time ago. In other parts of the world where we had pastoralists, culturally, they've all evolved, for economic reasons, because the animals perform better when they are in an area that you can control their nutrition. The logic for migration, whether cultural or economic, disappeared from the planet Earth long ago. And that's the first part. The second part is, apart from that, pastoralism has become a national security issue in Nigeria. Every single place where the herdsmen have been, they have clashes with farmers. And the logic of conflict resolution is that you will keep the warring factions apart. That's the first thing that needs to happen. In Benue State, it is illegal to do open air grazing. It does not mean that Fulani people don't have a place in Benue State. Like every other kind of agriculture, you can get the land, put on that land the resources that you need to graze your livestock. There are a lot of livestock farmers in Benue State, some of them Fulanis. But the logic of, because of we needn't have gotten to this period of clear crisis to even take this decision. The economic logic disappeared. For our facility where we farm, the first thing we did when we came there was to set the ground rules. You can't graze here. We are farming cassava. Cows eat cassava. Therefore, the two cannot cohabit in the same space. And so we took the measures to secure our land from trespassers. It is the same thing happening in the southern part of Nigeria, particularly the Middle Belt, where it is a typical agrarian society where crop production is the order of the day. Animals eat these crops, and therefore animals cannot cohabit in the same ecosystem with this crop. It's pure logic. And to the extent that it is now causing mass killings as a result of this crisis, it is therefore late, in my view. This should have happened a long time ago. Does this mean that the Fulani is no more welcome in the South? I doubt that that's the case. And any northern governor that is interpreting it in that light is actually in disregard of the loss of lives that has happened as a result of forcing these two irreconcilable groups to cohabit.
But I mean, there's all these conversations about, freedom of movement. And I know that, of course, your freedom only ends where someone else's begins. But this feels like a hard stop to something that should be discussed and had a conversation about. And of course, this North versus Southern governors issue that has now even been thrown into the mix is why I just wonder, is this going to be the solution? Because now it seems there's a whole other sort of drama and conflict that's going to brew out of this by just saying, don't come this way. Is this hard stop the right answer to this?
I don't think the point is, the best way to put it is to say, don't come this way. It is to say, what is trespassing? It doesn't mean there is no area limited, or that is not accessible to people that have earned the right to live there. If you live in an estate and the estate rules is that non-residents are not allowed, you are not allowed. If you want to be allowed, you live in the estate. And it is the same with our houses, that there's freedom of movement does not mean I can walk into your compound or walk into your house. It means that for me to be able to move in a geographical area, I have the right. So every Nigerian has a right to live in every part of Nigeria. And that's not what, and what the governors are saying is it does not contravene that right. Fulanis are welcome in the south, the same way that any Nigerian that wants to farm rice in the north is going to obtain land and farm rice. So if you are coming to for business reasons to graze your cattle, I mean to produce animal and animal-related product, you can acquire the land and produce and do your business. You know, this, animal production is a business. It is huge business. They have the resources to acquire the land they need. If they want governments to help them ease the process of that land acquisition, that is the kind of conversation that the northern governors should be having with their counterparts, not introducing political controversies to get cheap claps from their people. You know that these people are either going to lose their lives or are going to kill other persons, and are already doing so across many parts of Nigeria. You don't need it to keep happening. And so when you talk of a hard stop, it is looking like a hard stop now because it was overdue 20 years ago. So it took 20 years to realize this. Now that we have realized it, my informed opinion is that 1 day delay is no longer necessary. Okay, so the northern governors should, if they are going to be at the table with their counterparts, to say, okay, how does this evolve? Let's take the next 6 months, 1 year, because of the seasonality of grazing and grazing-related activity, so that we can sort out how to rehabilitate or reallocate those, or to allow those who have migrated there to find their way to other places and something like that, a modality around implementation. That's fair. But as for the rule itself, the states assemblies of those places should legalize it, should make it pass it into the laws immediately. And as a matter of fact, even in the north, right, it's surprising because a lot of the killings that are happening between herdsmen and farmers are happening in the north. Much more, over 90% of it happens in the north. And it is surprising that instead of the northern governors realizing that and saying, hey, maybe this is something we should be doing as well, they are looking for political points to score, and that is really, really sad.
Okay, one question I want both of you, but I'll go with you first, Leonard, is what the federal government should be doing in all of this. I mean, states are certainly taking the matter into their own hands, like you said, because this has festered for too long. But now we are seeing that even the political leaders in the north and south are sort of almost escalating the issue as it is. What should the federal government be doing at a time like this, you think?
I think, yeah, the federal government is in pole position to mediate the conversations that needs to happen between the north and south. The role of the federal government, already you know, as the lawyer will probably agree with me, we already have too many things in the exclusive list. Thankfully, this one is in the concurrent, and the states have taken ownership, you know, of resolving the conflict in this manner, which I 100% agree with. The role of the federal government, therefore, is to say, in terms of implementation, what are the issues? How can we support the groups that will be most affected by these laws, so that there is, you know, a seamless transition into the new state of things, as specified by, as indicated by the governor. So the federal government should be de-escalating this pseudo-conflict. It's not a real conflict, really. I'm sure the governors are calling each other on the side and saying, hey, don't worry about that thing I said. No serious-minded person, governor in the north, is going to take the kind of public position that they are seemingly taking. I think they are joking, really. But the role of the federal government is to align conversations and support the people groups that may be affected by this measure and get them to settle in. That's what I think the federal government ought to do.
All right, I'll come back to you, Leonard. Same question to you. Do you think the presidency is doing enough? Should they be doing more? Or is this a situation of let them handle this? This is not our business. The states need to sort this out.
For me, from the body language of the presidency, I do not think it is doing enough, yes, to de-escalate the issue. Now, you would notice that from when the killings actually were rife and people were calling on the presidency to at least make an order, such an order that the governors have made now, the presidency did not respond to that. He did not make that order, and it got to the point where the governors said, we've had it enough, we can't take this no more. And then they had to make that order. They had to sit down at Asaba to make that order to say, no, we don't want this anymore in our communities. Now, interestingly, in addition to what Leonard has said, interestingly, in 1988, a law was made by the then military government, but it was a national law applied in the whole country. This law is called the National Commission on Nomadic Education Act. Now, by that law, section 4 of that law says that the board of the National Commission on Nomadic Education, in conjunction with state governors and the livestock department of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, shall work to develop ranches or grazing reserves or dams for nomadic people whom we normally know as Fulani headsmen.
Or headsmen.
Or headsmen generally. Now, that law was made in 1988. Till date, they haven't yet found out, they haven't created a single reserve or single ranch in the whole country, which is, I think it's quite abnormal. And I won't be surprised that that commission is still existing and is still in Abuja, and it might be collecting federal allocations, or they might even include it in the federal budget every year. So you see that they are not doing enough. It's issue of not doing enough.
Yeah.
Yes, the federal government is not doing enough at all.
Just before we go, very quickly, one sentence if possible. Where do you see things going from here?
Really, things have degenerated. So I think things would degenerate if urgent action is not done by the federal government. Now, the federal government, there's currently a bill for grazing reserves in the National Assembly. Now, if that bill is passed into law, that means that grazing will not be banned in the whole country, in the country as a whole, not north and south. I hope that bill is passed into law. In addition to that, I hope that the issue of implementation or enforcing of laws would also be taken seriously. Now, if that is, if that is taken seriously, I see us improving. But if we do not take the issue of implementation or enforcement of laws seriously, I think we would just be retrogressing.
Thank you very much, Ariko Collins. Thank you very much, Leonard. This conversation, I hope we can start having sort of more conclusive conversations on this, because we've had it for too long, and we'll see how the northern and southern governors resolve this. Leonard, thank you very much for being here today. We're going to take a break now, and we'll be right back. Please don't go away. All right, welcome back. Yes, I have a guest here who has gone from being a reality star to being a media personality and a consultant and a sports enthusiast, amongst other things. Ozome Nachuku, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Thanks for being here today. Congratulations and everything. You were, of course, on Big Brother Naija, which I'm very aware of. In a quick nutshell, how has the journey been since leaving the house?
I think for a change, it's good to see you on a Sunday now. it doesn't feel that bad seeing you on a Sunday now. No, it's been great. I always said, even from right of the moment when I left the house, is I think sometimes people don't understand how great of a platform it is.
Yeah.
I think people most times just focus on the social media numbers. But then I think they forget that the most important thing is it gives you an opportunity to excel in what you want to do in life. And for me, I went in there with a purpose, and now it's giving me the best opportunity I could ever dream of to go ahead and achieve those things.
And I've heard you say a lot, that you never watched the show, you never really knew what to expect. Why did you go on a show you have no idea about? What was it about the show that made you still want to go?
Yeah, because, my family, our mindset was just you go to school, get your degrees, and then just go get a job. And I knew that the show, one thing I knew was that people that went on the show, you get like a platform so you become famous, you could do something with it. And when I came back to Nigeria, I thought, okay, fine. I've been the printer in my house has probably seen my CV so many times. I've printed my CV so many times, gone to different offices, trying to work in sports administration, but I never got the opportunity. So I said, okay, fine. Maybe I should actually go on this show, get whatever I get from the platform, and then go ahead to achieve this dream. And yeah, I think it's been great. It's been more than I ever expected.
I mean, you've done very interesting things. I see talk about Juventus, you partnering with teams like that. I know you've done stuff with UEFA even before getting into the house. You have a show on SuperSport with Budweiser. How did these things happen? Were they intentional? Did it fall on your lap? Because there's always this talk about, you leave a show like this, and people are wondering, what are you going to do with it? So how were these intentional moves by you? And how, for Juventus, for example, people were confused at how do you get that kind of a gig?
Yeah. No, I think I think in life you do what you can. And I think I was really blessed and fortunate that this year we had, last year, when I was on the show, we had like the trivia game, so I was able to show my knowledge of sports there as well. So coming out, people who had seen the show had probably sent fillers out. I think the best type of marketing I said is word of mouth. So people have told, okay, this guy is good at this guy is good at that. So maybe you should just give him an opportunity to try and achieve all these things. And that's how it's worked. I always said, I never wish my life is like anyone else's life, because if someone sees me now and says, okay, I wish my life is like Ozo's life, then that means at a certain time in your life, you're going to get your dream job and you lose it. Because I got my dream job working for one of the UEFA federations, and I did lose that job, which I just went a full circle again, and then back I'm working towards that same situation as well. So I think that's just how it happened. Is I was able to showcase what I could offer, and then people give you an opportunity, and you have to live up to all those expectations that you've set for yourself.
Yeah. So what do you think makes people who go on this show sometimes not do as well as they'd like to? Because there's a belief, and there seems to be a pattern where it says a lot of these people go on this show, not everybody, a good percentage end up not doing what they wanted to do or being as successful as they wanted to be. What do you think makes people stand out? Saying this because there are people who would like to go on the show to say, okay, if I go and come out, I would like to do something with it. Yeah. What makes people do well with a platform like this?
I think the first thing is, I think what would make people fail is unnecessary pressure. And I say unnecessary pressure simply because you come out and it's not like we go on the show, it's not like we're music artists or like we're actors. So you go on the show like you're like an every day-to-day person. And all of a sudden you're out of the house and then people are stopping you, oh, can we take a picture? Can we do this? Can we do that? And then all of a sudden you now start thinking in your head, maybe I shouldn't fly commercial anymore. Maybe I should fly a private jet. Or maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. But if it's something you can't live up to, then don't do that, because then you've put so much undue pressure on yourself, or you start thinking, every day I should just post pictures of myself wearing Gucci's or all the fancy brands, when you could wear your normal day-to-day stuff and still look good in it. So if you put pressure on yourself that you can't live up to, then that's when you fail, because then you fall on that whole illusion of you're trying to do things to impress people. And then you lose sight of where you want to get to in life. I think eventually you always get there, as long as you apply yourself and you have the belief in yourself that you're going to get there. Myself, every day, do I wake up some days and I think like, okay, how am I going to get to where I want to get to in life? I have dreams of having great things, but then I don't have maybe the best financial status to get there now. All I just have to tell myself is, okay, also just pace yourself, do what you have to do. It's a journey. life, and you're eventually going to get there. If you're able to tell yourself that this is what I want to achieve and I'm going to apply myself to it, then you get there. But if you lose sight of it and you think it's all about, like I said, the whole thing about social media, trying to impress people, then that's where you get yourself into trouble.
Do you think you've been lucky?
I've been blessed. Most times I never use the word luck. I always say I've been blessed. Yes, when I look at my life, I look at how I've been able to get to where I am now in life. As a 5-6-year-old, I couldn't tell the time. My little sister, that I'm 4 years older than, learned how to tell the time before me. So one thing I think taught me in life is that just be patient. You're eventually going to arrive, and when you arrive, most times you arrive in style. I wasn't the brightest in school. During the long vacations, my sisters will be watching Cartoon Network. I'll have a lesson teacher that will come in the morning. I'll have one that will come in the evening. But eventually, I had a first-class degree during my bachelor's degree, and I missed getting a first class in my master's by 0.26. I always say that story because it was painful. But one thing it's taught me is that eventually I'll arrive. Is it luck? No. I feel like I've been blessed to meet the right people at the right time.
I asked a lot of questions because I've seen a lot of conversation, valid or not. I just wanted to get your opinion on that, about light skin privilege and what that did for you and people like you who have gone on a show like this, and there's sort of a platform different for you because of how you look and the kind of society we live in that puts emphasis on maybe skin color or skin tone or pretty privilege even. Do you think that helped you in any way?
When I see situations like that, I never chalk things down to the complexion of someone's skin. What I always say is your character actually tells a whole lot about you. Like me, myself, most times you end up appreciating someone when you're able to tell the type of character that person is. So if you're someone I know that you have your humble spirits, you carry yourself well, you want to see other people succeed, then I would gravitate towards you. So I think it's, my own viewpoint is all about a character thing. I know, yes, there's, in the world globally, we all have like so many underlying racial situations. But then at the same time, we've seen so many black people succeed. We've seen so many light-skinned people go on the same show that I went into and maybe didn't have as much of a following as maybe as I have. So I always chalk it down to, I think it's mostly a personality thing. I think most times people will meet you and they'll be able to deduce the kind of person you really are, and they'll probably gravitate towards you for those, your personal characters as well.
What's the biggest surprise for you since you left this show? Coming out, that you wondered, wow, I didn't know this was how this was going to be. What has been the biggest sort of wow moment for you?
The biggest one for me was the love. I think that's what it was, because when you get out of the house, you know, like the process before getting in, and then when you get out, and you come out of the house, and obviously there are negative things said about you, there are positive things said about you, and it was at that moment I just told myself that I can't think about anything that is negative, because the love for me was just too much. When I mean too much is you never expect that people would see you in the lights that people see you at now. And I think for me, that was the biggest wow moment, is seeing the fact that there are so many people that no matter what's going on, they still want to support you and pray for you that you succeed in life. I think for me, that's the biggest.
I mean, the love is very important. And I know the fans get a lot of praise for that, which is why the show is as big as it is, but also get a lot of flack for how, you know, they handle conversation. I know you also catch a lot of hits on social media. What are your thoughts on sort of fandom of this show and, you know, what it does, both negative and positive? Some people think one outweighs the other. What do you think?
I think you just have to take everything like a pinch of salt, like they say. It's you need to understand already, even for every single person out there that actually wants to go on the show, you need to understand that regardless of what your experience is on the show, when you get out, you're going to have people who like you, you're going to have people who do not like you. That's just how life is. That's what I think, and that's what I believe as well. So when you look at, when you're getting so much flack on social media, my best approach towards it is, I always say you're answerable to what you answer to. And why I use that word is, if someone sees me on the streets and calls me a fool or an idiot or whatever, I keep moving. But if someone calls me, oh, like a son of grace or whatever, then I turn. So that means I'm answerable to what I answer to. So regardless of how much flack I may get on social media, I don't respond to it because I don't see it. I don't believe that your negative messages or undertone towards me applies to me or applies to my life. You can't stop me from getting to where I want to be in life. So I think it's always about making sure that you shut that out. Give them no credence. Because the moment people see that they could push your buttons, then they'll keep prodding. But I think if people see that they're prodding and they're not stopping you from getting to where you want to get in life, then they kind of have to learn and know that, okay, maybe at a certain period, hopefully by God's grace, they get to reach a point where they're like, okay, we should just probably stop and focus on whatever stuff is that they need to focus for themselves in life. So it's all understanding that the negativity will be there, but just focus on the positivity, and I'm sure you'll be fine.
Very hard to do, though.
I know,
very hard to do.
There's some days where you see some things, and in your mind you're like, how in God's name would someone think about me this person? Yeah, but you see it, and you just have to say, okay, it is what it is. Let me just turn the blind eye to it and just keep moving.
How's Ozone doing these days? I see you're wearing a ring.
Oh,
is that a wedding ring?
No, 100%, no. So this is so like a company.
Or a promise ring?
No, this is a ring. This is a company I work with. I've always
can we see? Because it's blinging like something.
Yeah, I know. No, it's quite nice. It's
a company you work with did what?
No. So like before they gave me the ring, they always ask for like ring sizes. So the only thing I'm comfortable wearing the ring on is this one. Like, I'm Catholic, so growing up, we always wore remember the finger rosary stuff?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're Catholic, so no. You're Catholic, so
I wore my finger rosary, not on my ring finger.
Where did you wear
it? One of these two.
One of these two. Okay, so me, I always wore my finger rosary on this finger.
But it's not a finger rosary.
No, it's a ring. It's just a fashion ring, if I'll call it that. That's
yeah, we believe you.
That's what
but how's Nengi doing?
No, she's doing great. I mean, she's acting now, and she has lots of branches she's influencing with. So, I mean, she's doing really great. I know the undertone of the whole light skin thing kind of applied to both of us about, okay, you guys are being successful because you're light skin. I always say I think it's a personality thing. That's just what I think it is.
How are you guys doing?
No, we're doing great. We're doing really great. I mean, still rooting for each other to succeed in what we've always wanted to do. So I think that's the most important thing. I think people most times lose sight of people being friends. I think people lose sight of it. So regardless of whatever stuff is, I always say personal life is whatever it is, but just the real life situation is she wants to do her stuff in the movie industry, fashion, whatever. I hope she succeeds, and I hope she feels the same way about me as well.
Is this still just a friendship?
Yeah.
Why, though? Because you look like you really wanted more than that.
I don't know. I always keep my personal life private. Like I always say.
But it kind of became our business. So
no. Obviously, like everything played out on the global screen, and everyone saw everything happening. So it's normal. You get into a house and you're with 19 other people, and you're always bound to have people that are favorites. I was fortunate enough that the people that were like my favorites in the house per se stayed up all until the end. Actually, not for anything, I actually was one that left them in the house because V was there, Neo was there, Nengi was there, Dorothy was there as well. So I pretty much like left them in the house when I left. So for me, it was a great experience meeting all the 19 people that I met. But yeah, like it played out on a global stage and whatever. But most times my private life has always been private.
The perception of you when you came out of the house being this guy who was just so intense and intentional with how you liked Nengi.
Yeah.
Coming out of the house, and looking back now, I know you had interviews when you came out saying, I mean, you did what you did and you followed your heart and all of that. How has this shaped your relationship with her now, where you are not intentionally trying to keep whatever you're saying is private and not let anybody in to understand whether it's a friendship or anything? Is that because of how the public reacted to you guys? And do you feel now the need to act differently with her publicly?
No. Regardless, I've always been this person that even whenever I'm in a relationship or situationship, whatever it is I found myself in, people don't get to know
Yeah.
that part of my life. You probably have to be like really close to me to know, okay, this is what's going on in Ozzo's life at this point in time. So no, it has. I always said, I even said this in the house a couple of times, where I said like public perception would never phase me or would never make me change or act differently towards situations that I'm going through in my life. So no, it didn't have anything to do with it.
Did the company give her a ring as well?
Yeah, because
On the same finger?
No. I don't know. I don't know which one she's conversant wearing hers on. But yeah, but I mean, this is the same company, so they give us like different rings as well.
Let's talk sports very quickly before we go to what's next for you. I mean, Nigeria had an amazing day yesterday. We had 4 Nigerians lifting trophies with the Rangers in Scotland and of course Leicester. Are you as excited for the Super Eagles as I am? Or does this look like one of those one-offs where they do great with their clubs and we come back here and we're not sure how the blend works? What are you thinking with regards to with football? Because the World Cup qualifiers are coming up soon. Yeah.
No, I think if in terms of the difficult part when it comes to the national team is saying, okay, fine, when we have all these players doing well, like in different parts, how well could they gel? I think that's the problem. My dad and I will always say we always think God is a Nigerian because we always find ourselves in. I keep saying find ourselves in those situations where we're now saying, okay, we're praying for this team to lose or for this team to draw,
so that we can get 1 point.
And most times it actually happens. We do get there, but hopefully it's not the same for us this time. I was really happy for the Leicester players and the Rangers players yesterday. It was really great to watch and to see. But yeah, like the national team is all about how much stability can we get? Are we going to keep chopping and changing? And I know that the NFF, they're trying to get some stability there, but the reality is how quickly could we get this thing in? Could we have a situation now where we have an identified football philosophy that is going to suit our players and the style of play and the brand of football that we want to achieve? So I think until we agree as a nation that this is the style of football that appeals to us the most, and we're able to develop players in that mode. If we're not able to do that, then we're going to keep having this up and downs. It's just going to be like a trend. It goes up, it goes down. We look at the cryptocurrency market. That's probably what our football will look like if we don't get this this identified football philosophy into place.
And the Olympics might still happen. We don't know because there's talks about COVID and Tokyo and all of that. Are you okay with our preparations? I know the basketball team is camped, I think, in the US. I heard about the wrestlers in Bielsa. There's things are happening in pockets, but we don't know how well we're preparing. You probably have better insight. Very quickly, what do you think?
No, I think it's where you look at Nigeria and where we could possibly win medals. We're looking at the wrestling aspect of it. Basketball, we pray we don't miss the USA again. So, because the record is on our head now, the record margin for a win is still on our head. So when you look at it, I think what excites me the most about like development of sports in Nigeria the most is, I mean, we have the Basketball African League that's starting today. We have a Nigerian team there. So yes, we look at all these aspects, but I think the moment where we have more private individuals getting involved in sports, the better, the better it's going to be for our sports. Because if we keep letting the government run everything, then we're still going to be hampered as well.
Very quickly before we go, I know you have a show every Sunday.
Yes.
On Super Sport, so we can watch that.
Yeah, so 8:30 every day. Myself, Jimmy, Ose, DJ Dips, the Kings of Football show. So it's going to be on.
Thank you very much, Azor. Good luck with everything. Looking forward to you doing more, greater things with this platform, and all the best.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being
here.
Thanks for
having me.
We'll take another break, and when we'll come back, we'll be talking COVID and a possible third wave. I'll see you after that. All right, welcome back. Now, the federal government recently announced a new phase of COVID lockdown or sort of restrictions. A lot of Nigerians are very surprised by it. Curfew has been placed from midnight to 4 a.m. And of course, gatherings are not allowed with more than 50 people at any venue. A lot of also recreational centers are supposed to be closed. We'll be joined now by Dr. Alera Roberts virtually. Thanks for being here today, Dr. Roberts. I think my first question is, a lot of Nigerians are confused because the NCDC still releases statistics for daily COVID test results. And the numbers are really, really, really low by many standards. We're seeing, I think yesterday was even less than 50 cases nationwide. And then in the middle of that, we're hearing that there's curfews and there might even be a possible phase 4 lockdown. People are not understanding why that is important. So I don't know if you have any explanation for that.
I do, because I must confess, and thank you very much for having me. Nice to see you again.
Yes.
I'm so sorry I couldn't be there in person.
It's fine.
But it is what it is. The truth of the matter is a lot of my friends, a lot of our colleagues have been asking us the same questions, I mean, socially and whatnot. This is what I call the perfect definition of a preemptive strike. We are watching with fear and trepidation what is going on in India, in Brazil, and in Turkey. And you have to remember, India is the medical tourist capital of the world. If their health system is failing under this wave of COVID cases, what will happen to us? So the best thing to do is prevention is better than cure. In the first place, people forget that these mandates were never actually lifted. I know people were generally ignoring them because the numbers were so low. And I guess the authorities were kind of like, turning a blind eye to it. But if anything, even if a quarter of what is happening in India should happen to us, a tenth of what is happening in India should happen to us, we're in deep trouble. We're in deep trouble. We don't even have the health system that can cope with it. We didn't have it then. We tried to strengthen it. We've succeeded maybe a little way, but not across the whole country. The one thing we cannot afford is a third wave.
And of course, like I said at the top of this show, we did hear from the World Health Organization that 3 more African countries have actually detected the quote-unquote strain from India, and Nigeria was one of those countries. And that, of course, also put fear in some people. So where is that strain, and what does that mean even? Because we hear that the strain spreads faster than what we had before. And does that strain being here, have we contained it? Are we supposed to be afraid now? Like, what happens with that now?
I think we should all be extremely cautious. That's number one. It is definitely more transmissible. That's a fact. We're not quite sure yet whether that translates to severity, but the thing to do is that, and it's attacking younger people. That's the second thing. So it's more transmissible, it's attacking younger people. I mean, younger people are getting very sick and being hospitalized, which did not happen with so much with the first 2 waves. And the third thing is that we really don't have the facilities to cope anymore. So, when you think about it scientifically, the real danger are what we call the mass social gatherings. Those are the ones that are uncontrollable. We've managed to control protocols in schools. Workplaces have set up very robust COVID protocols to maintain health and safety among their staff and whatnot. The transporters, we're trying to get them to comply. By and large, air travel is reasonably safe, but the mass social gatherings, once people's inhibitions are lowered and alcohol is flowing and people are eating and drinking and the music is loud and you're talking in each other's faces, directly without a mask, that's where transmission becomes so high. And that's actually what happened in India when the President Modi sort of said, oh, they've beaten COVID, they've done a very good job, election rallies were going on, there were religious mass gatherings, and their weddings are even larger than our own. That's what we noticed is the difference between Nigeria and India that led to the situation they have in India and which we are desperately trying to prevent in Nigeria.
I want to talk vaccines now, because the vaccines have been rolled out in Nigeria. Very slow by global standards, but by African standards, we seem to be doing okay. But Nigeria has a very huge population. I think we've had less than 4 million.
3.92 million
doses so far, and I think the second dose is about to be due for those who have taken their first dose.
Absolutely, yes.
What does that do now for this strain? We know we're supposed to expect another sort of batch, I think, in July of more of the AstraZeneca or vaccines. Does that give anybody comfort? Because we're also hearing sort of conflicting. The CDC in America has said no need to wear masks if you're vaccinated. The UK has not even banned travel from India, saying that their border control is good enough because they feel like they're doing well with the vaccines. So is the vaccine a good sort of buffer for us?
The vaccine is an excellent buffer for us. It's about the only buffer we have that we can afford to put into place, to be honest with you. And the Oxford AstraZeneca has shown itself to be extremely effective in preventing severe disease and hospitalization, which is really what we want. What we do not want is a lot of hospitalization, a lot of severe disease. So that's what the AstraZeneca vaccine saves us from. We need a lot more. We need to be able to at least achieve 60% coverage in Nigeria, which is almost, if I recall, about 120 million Nigerians. So we're a very, very, very long way from achieving that. But if at least we can protect our health and security workers, the frontline workers, the health, security, teaching staff, then at least we have some measure of comfort, as it were, against people, because we cannot afford to lose certain critical sectors of the economy. Otherwise, the economy has taken a huge battering as it is. We can't afford to let it be battered any further. So I also heard that we're getting some more vaccines in July. I pray that is true. We are certainly starting the rollout of the second dose. I think, if I'm correct, it's about the 28th of May, if I recall, at least in Lagos State. And then, so the thing is that if you've had 2 doses, 2 weeks after you've had the second dose, your immunity is probably at the highest level that it's going to be. And while it is safe to say you cannot get severely ill or be hospitalized, we are not yet sure if you can or cannot transmit the virus.
Yes.
So the US can take the decision that is taken because they've got a higher proportion of their population that has been vaccinated, and they've got access to the vaccine, so that the only thing that's stopping people from getting vaccinated is their own decision not vaccinated for whatever weird reason that may be.
Yeah.
But we still have a ways to go before we can get there. So the thing to do is for us to maintain our public health interventions, wear the mask, avoid social mass gatherings.
Okay.
Those are the personal events.
Yeah, I mean, vaccine politics is a whole other conversation we can't even get into now, and vaccine nationalism. But on the final note now, maybe just because it's a conversation I know a lot of people have about, does COVID move faster at night? And why is the curfew in place at night and during the day we can move freely? Why midnight to 4 a.m.? Does the vaccines fly differently at that time of the day?
Bars, nightclubs, and parties. That's the mass social gathering we're trying to avoid. I hear you because wedding parties start at what, 9, 10 at night and go on till the following morning. Yeah, that's what we're trying to avoid. That's what we're really trying to, and particularly in the highly densely populated cities like Lagos, Port Harcourt,
Yes,
where university towns where the young people gather. It's protecting them to protect us.
Yes.
So, no,
I'm sorry, I just had to ask that. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Alera Roberts. Always good to see you, and please come again when we ask you to be here. Have a great week ahead.
You too.
All right. Well, like I always say, you can follow the conversation on Twitter. Rubbin Minds now is the handle. Please use the hashtag Rubbin Minds when you tweet at us. Once again, please stay safe. COVID is still very much around. Wash your hands, socially distance, wear a mask, and don't be out if you don't need to, all right? I'll see you next Sunday.